Okay. Originally, I was going to not even record this part for the video today. I was like looking back at the footage and I'm like, nah, you look too sad. You should record another day. But then I realized that's what my channel is for. It's for creating art when you are stressed or when you just don't feel like yourself and you just need something to distract your brain. So, I'll just keep this as the intro to the video. Thank y'all for watching, and I hope you're able to do this project along with me. It's a nice short one. I think the paper I'm using today is about 5x7. It is watercolor paper, so I am going to be using some watercolor on here, so that's nice. Painting is a nice therapeutic thing, and then I'll do some doodles on top. There's also some washi tape involved, so if you are looking to do this along with me, you'll need watercolor paper, washi tape, some watercolor, and then also some sort of water resistant pen, like permanent marker will work great, or if you've got a permanent like pen, that'll work out good too. Also gel pens are great, because we are going to draw on top of the watercolor. So even though I am in a funk, you might be too. So hopefully this video will help you get through it. All right, let's get to painting. Let's get to some art that makes us feel better. So I have already taped down my paper. If you are using washi tape to tape down your edges, that's totally fine. I just have some washi tapes that are kind of running out, and I also love the washi tapes, and so I wanted to save them. So that's why I am using the painter's tape on the edges here. But I still have the washi tape that's going to go on the primary part of the paper, okay? So if you are using painter's tape, I do not suggest putting painter's tape directly onto this paper because it does tend to tear more. I know some people will say, oh, like put it on your jeans a little bit to get some fuzz on there, and then it won't pull the paper as much, but then also that kind of messes up the nice crisp line that you want whenever you are putting down washi tape as a sort of resist. So I like to do the edges with some painter's tape, and then I'll go in and decide what size of washi tape I want to actually put down on here and make all of my little sections. So that's going to be the next thing we do, is put our sections on here. And before we get too involved in the project, I did already do a run through of supplies. I've got some watercolor over here off to the side. I'm not using all of these. These are just, sets that you could use if you wanted to. You could use, a bigger set. You might have one of the sets that are like from Michael's. You might have one of these smaller sets. This is the smaller set that I'm going to use. It's like a little travel size watercolor set. So that's what I'm going to be using for this. This brand, when I bought it, it was under Prima Marketing. You can still find these on Amazon. And I bought this like so many years ago. It's been like 10 years. I'm not even going to lie. It's been a long time. I think these are rebranded now to Art Philosophy, I believe. But if you search Prima Marketing on Amazon, you can still find these on there. They range in price from like, I think $19 up to like $25. Clearly, I've used this a lot. This is my favorite set, the Tropicals. It's been through some things, but that's fine. Like, I think too many people are used to having art supplies like look pristine when you first get them, but when you use them, they're gonna get like this after a while. The yellow in here was legitimately like my favorite yellow to use. It's such a nice, bright, vibrant yellow, and this is the Tropical set. I also have the Decadent Pies set. I haven't used this one as much, and I really need to look and see that there's, still some splatters on there. I think this one got so many splatters because it was just nearby whenever I was using the other set. But these little on-the-go watercolor sets are really nice because they're super compact. And it's not an overwhelming number of colors. It's a good amount of colors that are in here. And you can get some nice usage out of those. So I do have my watercolors. I think I'm probably going to use the pastel set because that's the newest one. Newest meaning I bought it like 5 years ago. But I think I'm going to use this set today with these colors. I did a bigger project like the one we're going to do today with these colors, and I just kind of wanted to see what they look like mini version. And then of course paintbrushes. I've got some paintbrushes over here to the side. More than likely going to be mostly using my round brush. This is actually the brush that came in with my Hemi gouache set that I absolutely love. And I'll probably use, I might use this filbert, like flat. It's a filbert because it's got the curved bristles at the top, but I'll probably use this one too in case I got to get into any nooks and crannies. But once you've got all your supplies situated, don't forget your water cup. But once you've got your supplies situated, then you can go ahead and start doing your tape grid on here. Now, you don't have to get super technical with your tape grid. You can do it in all sorts of crazy wonky ways, or you can try to have it a bit more planned out, but it's up to you on how you want this tape to look. I'm going to show you an example of a larger one I made. So this is kind of like what we're going to be working on today. This is a finished one. This is a big one though. It's like 11 by 14. And it took me over a year to finish this, not because it was hard, but because I had bought some new pens and I was worried that they didn't look right. And then I just kind of lost my groove and just stopped working on this in the middle of it. I know some people, if you're an artist, same thing happens to you. You start on a project and you're like, I don't know if I like how this is going, and you need to set it aside and come back to it. That's what happened, but I ended up finishing it and I really like it. This is more of a super, super planned look for your washi tape. And I did the same thing on this one where I had painter's tape on the edges and then the inside part was washi tape. Okay, so like what we're doing today. So I think I'm going to try to do something that's not as planned for my tape, because that one was like very meticulously, you know, planned out type of tape lines. I think I'm going to try to do just random lines on here and see how that goes. Now on the last one, I only had, I think it was like this size. This is about the size washi tape I used on the last one. I think I'm going to try to see what happens if I combine two sizes, but sometimes what happens on these smaller ones is if you are using that really thick tape, it kind of like uses up so much of that white space. But then I'm like, well, can I do something in that white space later to make it, you know, look a little bit more, you know, vibrant, or maybe look it to where it's not so much white? Is there anything I can do to elevate that? So I'm still debating if I want to use both of these, but I think I am kind of leaning towards just using the narrow tapes for this. So we're going to go ahead and start taping this down, and then we'll start adding our watercolor. So I think that'll do it. I know there are a few spots things got a little wonky, so I had to bust out the scissors for that because the tape didn't land quite where I wanted it to. But I just wanted to be aware of having any tape overlap in any spots, because then it's not going to give us that nice straight line. So just remember, anywhere you have the tape, the watercolor is not going to touch. So it's going to be a white line. So if you want to keep those crisp white lines, you've got to make sure you're pressing down on the washi tape to stick it to the paper, and make sure you're not having things that are overlapping off into another little section there. Okay, so we're done with the washi tape. Now you don't have to use two different colors of washi tape. I just think about whenever the painting's done and I'm peeling stuff off, sometimes it just helps to be able to see those differences, and that you have, you know, different color washi tape in different areas, so that way you can easily pull things off of your paper whenever you're done, because you really don't want to just yank everything off and peel it. Even though washi tape is pretty delicate on paper, sometimes it can tear if you're going too fast. So now we are ready to paint our sections. And again, use whatever watercolor you want. The only thing you want to be aware of is how dark you are putting the watercolor on. So remember, less water equals a darker color. So also keep in mind what type of markers you're using or pens you're using on this afterwards. Because if you've painted everything super dark, well then your marker and your pen colors aren't really going to show up when you start doodling on top of this. So just kind of keep that in mind and be cognizant of what you're doing when you are painting with the watercolor. I've got these nice pastel colors. I'm probably not going to use the nice chocolate browns here just because I don't think I have a marker that matches up with that color, and I think it might stand out too much compared to the other pastels that I have. But we're going to get to painting in these sections, and then after that dries, we'll be able to add on our markers and our pens. So let's get to it. Now we have everything nice and dry on here, and whenever, we touch it with our hand, it's no longer wet. It doesn't feel damp. Also, the paper is kind of flattened out a little bit more. As you add water, you can tell the paper kind of curls a bit. If you're using watercolor paper, you should be using watercolor paper for this because it is best. But everything feels nice and dry. So I'm not going to peel tape off, remember. I'm going to go ahead and pick out my pens and markers that I want to use. So I just have a few examples that I'm going to show you. I've got my little scribble pad here that I use to test out different pens and pencils and things. So these particular pens, these are, let's see, who's the company that makes these? Zebra makes these. So these pens are very, very super fine point pens. If I can get it to kind of zoom in and on there for you a little bit so you can see it. But these pens are like super, super fine point. I believe it is a 0.5. So like, pencil lead is 0.5. If you've ever used mechanical pencils, this pen is going to have that same size. So this is about what we're working with here. It is like a pretty good point on here. So if you're someone that's kind of heavy-handed whenever you are drawing or writing, just be careful with it so that way you don't dig into your paper too much and accidentally tear anything. But these colors are nice and vibrant. I actually really like these. They're pretty smooth. So these are a nice pen, and it is like a ballpoint pen, and it shouldn't bleed or anything on your paper. So if you got a little overeager and you already wanted to start drawing on your paper before it dried, you don't have to worry about these bleeding. So these are a good pen choice. Also, the ones I might end up using are by Tombow. These are some double-ended markers. It's like a marker pen combo. So this is the Tombow Twin Tone. So you've got two ends on this. You have one that's more of, let me flip it to another page. You got one side that's more of a marker, and then the other side is going to be more like a super fine point pen, but it's more of like a plastic end on the end of these. So in that larger one I showed you, this is the type of pen / marker that I used. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Especially because these colors that are in here really do pair nicely with the colors I have for the paint. And they'll actually show up on top of the paint. So they're not going to be super, super hidden because of the nice pastel colors. I can still get a good amount of color from that. And the ones that I have, this is actually 2 packages. So I got these from Texas Art Supply. I bought 2 packages of them that they had because I love having lots of different colors. and I can just kind of easily pick and choose from here and pair it up with whatever is on my paper for my paint colors. Now, you don't have to use color if you don't want to. If you do want to use gel pens, go for it. For your particular paint color that you've used, if it's a darker color, these white jelly roll pens are really nice as well. But if you wanted to use black, that's totally fine too. You don't have to use a bright, super colorful color if you don't want to. So I have the ones that I really enjoy. These are the black liner pens by Pacific Art. They come in all sorts of different sizes. Also the Molotow brand of pens are really nice. I think one of these got mixed in. There we go. I try to keep them separated out so I don't get them too jumbled up. There we go. So the Molotows, I believe this was one package. I think it came with all 5 of these pens. But 1 millimeter, 0.7, I think there might be a 0.5 in here too, 0.3, 0.5, and then the chisel tip. So you've got quite a bit of a selection there. And then the Le Pen Drawing. These are by Marvi Uchida. I think I said that right. I apologize if I did not. I need to look that up. But these are nice drawing pens as well. They also have a variety of tips that you can use, different sizes that you can use. And then I have some that are just kind of one-offs. These are the Calia Art permanent markers. I don't know if I think they still sell these online. I'll have to look it up. But you do have this nice broad chisel tip. I'll show you on the paper. This one's super thick though, so I don't know if you're going to want to use it on the smaller paper, but you've got the chisel tip end. I've talked about these before if you've seen my other videos, and then it's got more of a fine tip. For a permanent marker, I actually really do like these. And then also this IdentiPen, I got this from Texas Art Supply. This is also, it would be nice if you could see it. This is also a dual ended pen / marker. So kind of similar to the Tombow ones I was showing you earlier, where you've got thicker marker on one side and then the opposite side, kind of like a plastic tipped fine line. So those are other options. Some people, they're kind of expensive, but some people like the, oh, what were these? What did we always call these? Micron pens. Some people really like these as well. Again, find whatever's in your budget. Use what's in your budget. You don't have to go out and buy anything you don't want to, okay? I only have all of this stuff because everything that's in my art studio is legitimately an accumulation of like 20 years worth of art supplies. I'm not even joking. So I bought a lot of this stuff in bits and pieces. So don't feel like you need to go out and buy a ton of stuff just to complete a project. All of the stuff that I have, like even these washi tapes, I'm pretty sure, I think this might be like a good 5 years old. I think I tend to hoard things. And I think that just comes from, as a kid, I wasn't able to have a lot of this stuff. So once I was able to buy my own things, I would buy it in pieces and accumulate a ton of stuff. So now we're going to pick out our colors here. I have decided to use my Tombow two-tone marker pen combos. So I'm going to go through and pick out the colors that I feel like are going to match with what I have on the paper. So when it comes to adding your doodles and your shapes on here, really don't think too hard about it. Everything I did on here was basically just stuff I kind of just thought of randomly. So think of simple lines and shapes. So zigzag lines, straight lines, curved lines, diagonal lines. And then when it comes to the shapes, think about circles, triangles, squares, and then just try to combine those things together. And that's basically how I put together this whole paper, this larger one that I did a week or two ago. So you don't have to make each section super intricate. You can if you want to, and stuff a ton of different designs in there, especially if you're using one of the double-ended markers or pens. So that way you've got like a thicker line and a fine line to work with. But you can have it just be super simple, like this one, where I just have some wonky little curves in there. I colored in the opposite side and then just added like a little dot in each part of the curve. Okay, so really, again, stress relief. Don't stress out about the artwork that you're making. Just draw what comes to you. That's why I absolutely love doing projects like this, because you don't need to sit there and stress about what's going inside the shape. If you end up having only 3 different shapes you use and only 3 different types of lines, that's absolutely fine. The point is you're doing something to help you. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's not think about it too hard. Let's just draw whatever comes to us. Okay, let's go. Now we're finished with adding in all of our little doodles. And again, like I was saying earlier, don't stress yourself out on what shapes to use. I was repeating shapes and lines left and right, but because we're doing them in different colors, it kind of spices things up a little bit. Even if you were doing this in black and white, I still think if you use maybe the same 3 lines or three shapes, as long as you're kind of spacing them and dispersing them throughout the design, it's really not that big of a deal. And again, this is for you. This isn't for anyone else. If it's something that you just want to practice on your own, or maybe you do want to, hang it on the fridge and give yourself a thumbs up and be like, look what I did, that's fine. But don't make the patterns be a point of stress. So our next thing, peeling off the tape. This tends to be the fun part for a lot of people. Now, I will tell you, just because this is washi tape does not mean nothing will tear at all. You still need to be careful, all right? So I'm just gently pulling up, and then I do like to pull at an angle and very slowly, and just let the tape release where it needs to release. Just let the tape do its thing. So here I've come to like a crossroads where I'm crisscross on another piece of tape. Please don't just go yanking the tape off, because you could provide more stress there on the paper than you need to and accidentally rip your paper. So just find an easy spot over here for that other piece of tape. Allow that to get lifted up. And then you'll get it to come off. So see, just nice and gentle. Take your time. It's definitely not a race. You don't want to have a piece that you've worked on for a while, then you end up ripping it at the end. So just take your time. And again, that's why I was saying the 2 colors of washi tape, if you have it, are helpful, because then you can see where certain parts are. Oop, I got a crisscross. Where certain parts start and end. And then you don't really have to worry about accidentally tearing or ripping anything. Now, for me, the stressful part is going to be the painter's tape, because that does have a little bit more of a grip than the washi tape. But I think we'll be okay. I think the biggest part is to pull at an angle And this is the same thing I do on my really big watercolor paintings as well. I make sure to slowly peel it and peel at an angle. And it does come off a lot easier that way. And here is our final piece. So super simple thing, didn't take that long. You can use this in some different ways. You could actually write this as like a little note card for somebody, use it as like writing notes if you want to. I would say if you are going to kind of gift this to somebody, a great way to keep it preserved so that way no water messes this up, because this is watercolor. So if water gets on here, it will reactivate the watercolor. Get some spray fixative. I really like the Krylon brand. I use that a lot on my paintings. And a fixative is basically just a clear spray that you would put on here. Usually a matte finish works best for paper products, but it's just a nice gentle spray you can spray over it to basically seal in the colors and seal in the paint so that way nothing happens to it. But yeah, this is a nice way to make little cards for people. Like if you wanted this to be a greeting card, you could, you know, use a paper that's twice as big and then fold this and then make your own little cover if you're doing something for like a birthday or something like that. And speaking of greeting cards, I do have my own line of greeting cards that I have on Etsy. I've got some greeting cards that have my paintings on the front, my acrylic paintings on the front, and also some of my watercolor paintings on the front. So those are available on Etsy, and I do have a little coupon sale, coupon code on there right now for orders for the fall. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed watching this video. I hope you were able to draw with me, and I can already tell that compared to the beginning of this video, I do feel a lot better having worked on this and giving my brain something else to focus on. So I hope you'll try this out. I hope it works for you, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for being here.